Welcome back to Jager Racing. Today, we're going to be doing the track baseline for the Mustang. Basically giving an idea of what the Mustang can do at the track as I purchased it. Yes, it's not a brand new Mustang, but it's still a 2015 with IRS. The performance pack, or whatever you want to call it, has some gauges, has some bigger brakes in the front, and literally just using exactly what came in the car. So nothing special, nothing great. Didn't even change the oil. So we'll see how that goes. Did have to add some. That's exciting, but let's see how that goes. Alright, so one of the biggest things you can see is the car is sliding around quite a bit. The tires are just not up to the task. Obviously these are tires that the guy drove on the street and really are not track tires whatsoever. Yet still had some fun with them, sliding the car around, having a good time. Lap time though, not the greatest here. They were basically ball tires in the rear. And yeah, I mean, you can see my buddy Ken sailing by me in the skid pad area there, just going by like no other, and then tearing away from me in every acceleration zone, which really shouldn't be happening with an E46 versus a 5.0 Mustang. But when you don't have grip, you can't accelerate, which means you can't catch him. Also, all the corner speeds are pretty low, and so yeah. Overall, the lap time was a little disappointing, to say the least, for the very first baseline. But at the same time, it's exactly what I thought it would be. Get to have a little drift fun. Yeah, it was a good time, but definitely something I'm excited for, to get in there with some good tires and get a real lap going real fast. Alright guys, now we're going to be looking at the data provided by the AEM CD-5. So this data was collected in that very first day, going out and doing a baseline of the Mustang. So you can kind of see here, just getting an idea of what we're looking at in terms of max speed, throttle position, so on and so forth. So getting it up to roughly 114 miles an hour before breaking the car down, getting it into the skid pad area, and then coming out, you can kind of see some wheel speed or wheel spin, so on and so forth, a little bit of things like this. This is what you get when you have the difference between the deltas of vehicle speed and GPS speed. So that's kind of a cool little thing that you can notice. Also, you can notice the RPM ramp. So that happens when you obviously have a little bit of wheel spin, excuse me. Little things like that are kind of cool when you look at stuff like this. One thing I haven't quite figured out with the Mustang just yet is it looks like max throttle position percentage is at 83%, yet the throttle drive-by-wire duty percentage is at 100%. Still kind of playing with that a little bit, but gives me an idea, kind of understand when I'm at full throttle versus not at full throttle. And we can see the back mile per hour going into the back straightaway, 109 miles per hour before braking for the back section here. Kind of a cool little setup here. You can go through and see what you're doing, see how you can increase your speeds, lower different things at different times. This is what's going to be my baseline and what I'm going to compare the rest of my lap times to when I get there. Each time we put on a part, we're going to compare to this. That's what's going to be the very interesting factor. Same driver, same car, adding parts, and seeing what that leads us to. Obviously, we're going to have a little bit of differences with intake air temperatures and so on and so forth, which we can evaluate as we will have those different things. You can see we get quite a bit of values from the CD-5 here, which is really awesome. So I'm going to have things like a comparative analysis through this. We have our engine analysis here, where we can see our ambient air temperature at 60 degrees. Obviously, this happened in January, so really good air temperature. Also, intake manifold air temperature. As we do different things with the intakes and with a box on or off or so on and so forth, we'll be able to see what those actually do to the car in terms of what our intake air temps look like. And yeah, we can kind of get a good idea of what the car's doing in terms of ignition timing, engine load, so on and so forth. Even did a plot here to give you an idea of what gears I'm using in what places on the track. You can see through here. You can basically go through and look and see what gears are used, what RPM I'm at, so on and so forth. I even have a setup here where you could lay out a video and watch the video in comparison to your lap time there. But all right, guys. Well, hope you appreciated the video of the first baseline. So the very first time I took this car on track with everything I basically got the car with, it did a 129.7. So very capable, although I will say the biggest limiting factor here is the tires. The tires by far were the biggest thing that was limiting the car in every which way. You couldn't really accelerate quickly. You couldn't really get around a corner quickly. You were very much tap dancing and dancing around every little thing just to keep the car on track and make sure you didn't fly off. And I didn't want to get the car dirty because that's no fun. So, yeah. Well, keep watching to see how the Mustang progresses. I think you and I will be greatly satisfied with how this car progresses throughout the time of this year. All right, guys, have a good one.